Welcome to today's podcast. Today's topic is secret struggles that create shame on autopilot.
Ooh, welcome to Shift Happens, the podcast about navigating the lighter side of life's challenges.
I'm your host, Robin McIntire. I'm a certified life and transitions coach.
And I'm Monique Eckes, a question asker. Oh, okay, Robin. So shame on autopilot. I don't understand what you're talking about. What are we doing today?
Okay, so I personalized that because of a story I'll tell you here in a minute.
Okay.
But I'd like to start with a quote.
Great.
And it's a Brene Brown quote. You can't go wrong with Brene Brown. And she just hits the nail on the head. So I'm going to read you that. It says, if you put shame in a petri dish, it needs 3 ingredients to grow exponentially: secrecy, silence, and judgment. Mm-hmm. If you put the same amount of shame in a petri dish and douse it with empathy, it can't survive. So the secret to me is, in my story, I've described it as the black hole.
Okay.
And this was many years ago. I had an eating disorder. I was bulimic, and I didn't know what to do with it. I thought it was a great invention at first. I was had a few extra pounds, and I thought it was just great. And then it gets a hold of me because it's got a hold of me. The food is going in, and I'm a party girl at the time, hot mess in high school. I'm not proud of this, but I'm very happy to share it because of what I learned. And long story short, I was in this really bad way for 3 or 4 years, binging and purging, and thinking nobody knew. That's a whole nother embarrassment, right? And then I was scared because I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I can't tell my parents. I'll have to go somewhere, and everybody will know. And I think even today, when people have any kind of habit they're ashamed of, if it's on this level, you don't have to have something this big, but if it's on this level, it can be something that is so hard to imagine getting help with. So we don't. And so we stay in the cycle. So the cycle of the unwanted habits and the shame, all of it's a habit, right? It's just something we do over and over and over.
Okay.
And the shame part is because it goes so against who we are. So we're out of alignment with who we want to be.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the shame comes in, and then and here's another thing. The shame and being in shame all of the time, or most of the time, we don't even notice how much we're in shame. Everything we do is from that energy that shame creates. So a really low energy, right? It's maybe a little depression, self-doubt, self-loathing, all the things piled in to shame. And we're showing up at work with it, and we're showing up with to our relationships with it. And we might not even notice, but it's definitely there. And it's just way different from being in alignment with yourself.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You shared a big story.
Yes.
I mean, let's kick off this podcast going deep, right?
That's what Robin will go first.
That's what we're doing. And I think of, what is the difference? I can feel it from your story. Shame is keeping secrets, right? Privacy versus a secret. If I'm kind of looking at my own life saying, is this a problem that I don't share it with everyone? I think I don't want to share absolutely everything in my life, right? So what can I say that's just, I'm keeping it private, that's my business, and this is a secret that's kind of eating away at me and causing all this shame. How can I kind of tell the difference?
That's a great question.
Okay.
That's a great question because, again, my examples, as you will see, not just today but other days, can be kind of heavy and big.
Yeah.
I think I would say a tap on the shoulder. I call it if you get the tap, okay? And I'll use this example that I've had friends that maybe they eat certain foods and they feel terrible about it. Well, and all the work I've done with food, I'm going, no, I don't feel terrible about it anymore. But if they're getting the tap that says, you said you were going to lose 30 pounds, you said you weren't, this is all right, right, this inner talk. In our head. And I'm going to back up because the tap, I really mean, it doesn't even have to be a mean voice. We don't like our inner critic to be mean. Right. We'll go into that a lot. But getting a tap means you're noticing it's not what you want to be doing. So I would say, I guess, your question is so good because it doesn't mean tell everybody everything all the time.
Right.
And I kind of was like that.
Oh. Oh gosh. I mean,
More embarrassment. Oh no.
Oversharing. Like everyone says, you need to be vulnerable. You need to be, authentic and like share everything. Like,
yes, don't be an oversharer, which I was. And I think so much of it is, your intuition and your gut and who's safe to share with. And also knowing who, if it is something you really want to get help with, to take time and figure out who is that person for me. And as a coach, I'm like, oh, it might be a coach, it might be a therapist, it might be someone a best friend, it might be someone you're very close with. What you really want to be careful of is not to tell people that are not going to cheer you on or support you. And number one thing, if they are judging you.
Right, because that comes back to that quote.
Yeah.
That's part of what keeps it in there.
Yes,
shameful, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And if I don't trust you, or if I do trust you and I tell you and I get more shame, that's just going to throw us backwards.
Okay.
Right?
So talking to the right people.
Yeah.
And so then how do I know, is this something I just want to keep private or this is a secret? It's that tap saying,
that's what
maybe
call
you
it.
want to talk to someone
Yeah.
about this,
Yeah.
basically?
Yeah. And I think it's a question, too, of how stuck do you feel, right?
Oh.
We can put things off for a long time.
Oh, okay. Coming back to the habits again.
Yep.
Yes.
So it's like when we wake up and say, I cannot do this one more day. And believe me, with bulimia, it was a trip.
Yeah.
After every episode, I'm in the mirror going, girl, you can't do this anymore.
Right.
It wasn't even that nice. I didn't call myself girl. I probably called myself something really mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think so much of it is how ready are you? And I'll give you an example. I had somebody reach out not that long ago that had something deep that they wanted to share. And it was so brave that she just reached out and shared what she did.
Yeah.
And turns out she wasn't quite ready to make a real move. I don't mean a real move. She already made a move that was really mattered. And that's okay. But it is definitely when you just know. I think you just know when it's time.
Okay.
I would say.
So kind of trusting your gut, talking to Robin.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of anything. And I'm certainly not going to judge because I've had enough of and I'm still going to make mistakes. But I really, the most important thing is to help. I feel like my superpower is to make people feel comfortable. And then my job is to make you uncomfortable.
And then comfortable again.
Yes, because that's what brings change, right? Is to be able to, you gotta say the words. You gotta hear yourself saying the words. And that's one of the things about saying it to the right person, or, I mean, you can start with even writing to yourself.
Yeah.
It is saying your truth, maybe on paper or maybe to another person.
And getting it out of your
Yes.
head. And you're right, though, because even if I don't tell anyone but a journal, then I feel like it's kind of out.
Yeah.
Now I can look at it maybe a little more objectively.
Yes.
Right?
And not only that, but when you write it, what's so cool about that and all of our thoughts and all of our feelings is when we can look at it over there, we can get clear that this is not who I am.
Yes.
This is what I'm thinking or doing.
Yes.
And obviously, if I wrote it down, I'm ready to take some kind of step towards.
True.
Yeah, some healing.
Yeah.
Healing.
Okay, so that would be a good exercise for me if I'm like, is that just, I want to keep that private. That's a me thing. I want to keep that.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I kind of do want to talk about this more.
Yep.
So I could journal either way.
It's wonderful.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a friend client told me also, and I wish I remember the name of it. Maybe I can look it up. We could put it in the show notes. It is an app that you can do a private journal. So I don't know about you. I know there's been times in my life where I thought, if anyone reads this, I'll die. If I die tomorrow, so if that is a fear, if that keeps you limited or like screened a little bit, not screened, but if it keeps you from really writing down what you really feel, then you might look into this more private deal where it's password protected and nobody else, if you died tomorrow, nobody would see it.
Gotcha. Okay, instead of just like a Google Doc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now we're just going to take a quick break, gather our thoughts before we finish up the podcast, and we need our sponsor bit. And our sponsor today is none other than Robin.
I'm your sponsor.
And Robin has something really cool for you. So tell us about it.
So here's what you do. You go to my website and you click on my freebie, because the freebie is all about unwanted habits and not just about how to white knuckle your way through fixing this or changing it, but something for you to play with to see if your desire for changing can come up so that changing the habit, the stress goes down. So again, acceptance over resistance.
Yeah.
So that's on there, and it's that's all I'm going to say is you need to go get it. If you have, I don't care, your habit doesn't have to be as crazy as mine, but if you have a habit and you've been getting the tap, you need to go get the freebie and work your way through it. And in the end, you'll have something that you can print off and post for yourself. That's going to be very helpful.
All right. Okay. Thanks for the sponsor bit. So, Robin, you're so famous for your one-liners and wrapping all these things into these lighter ways to handle them.
Yeah.
I really think so. We talked about heavy things in here, but it really can come down to some of these one-liners that can echo in your brain after you listen to this podcast. So, what would you say to round out this episode?
I'd say listen and feel for the tap on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Wake up in the morning, something's on your mind because of the night before, maybe staying up too late watching Netflix,
Yeah.
overeating, over drinking, any of the things that when we wake up in the morning we have a little regret, that's one of your taps. So any tap on the shoulder would be it.
So kind of noticing.
Yep,
Right?
absolutely. Notice what you notice.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think about that all the time.
You're good at that. You bring that up. Yes, you've started to say that back to me.
Yeah,
I love it.
I didn't never correlate that with tap on the shoulder. But yeah, that's interesting. That's just another piece, right? So noticing what you notice. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing I want to tell you is when you're doing any of this work where you're trying to improve or you're trying to decipher what needs to change or if you're ready or not ready, here's what I strongly, strongly invite you to do. Sit back and try to be the observer. Be your observer, not your judge. That goes so far with settling down our inner critic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, give yourself a break. Haven't we done this long enough?
I know. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We're here to lighten your load. And so with that, I'll say the outro.
Yes.
Is thanks for watching and listening. And remember, shift happens.
Shift happens. All right. So give yourself a break. You're human.
And Robin's here to help. Information is in the show notes in your podcast app and on YouTube. And of course, all of this can be found on the website. Can you tell us what the website is again?
RobinMcIntire.com. All I's. RobinMcintire.
All right. No Y's, no extra stuff.
No Y's.
Okay.
No Mac, no MACs. Just, yep.
Thank you. Okay. And that's all of her contact information is in the show notes as well. So thanks so much, Robin.
Hey, thanks for being here,
great.
Monique. Thanks for coaching me.
Oh, wow. Okay. We'll see you in the next one.
Ciao.